Hi, welcome to Human Tech, a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. I am Guthrie, and I'm here with Susan.
And this time we're like literally here.
Yeah. So, it's been a while since we've done a podcast, and there's been a lot of stuff has been going on. We've been all over on the road recently. We were just in the Twin Cities. Susan's had a nice cold cough.
Yeah, that's
for a week or two, so
I didn't think I should hack into the microphone.
But it's been too long, so we're like, well, we'll just do it anyways.
Even though I'm still kind of coughing.
Yeah, so we apologize for that in advance. We're now in LA at the moment, where we have the
sun is starting to come out.
Workshop we're kind of doing. Yeah, it's been kind of a gray day, but I guess the sun's breaking through. But we wanted to get a podcast out, and we'll make up all the ground that we missed. We'll have a flurry of them.
We'll overwhelm you.
Yeah, we'll overwhelm you guys with podcasts. So yeah, sorry about the delay, and so on the road, I'm sure the audio quality won't be as good, but it's gonna be fine. So today, the topic that we're going to cover today is part 2 of 3.
Really? 3?
Yeah, I said 3 on the first one.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're gonna do 3, and part 2 of 3 on education. So that's the topic. If you recall, we did the first one. It was generally on what makes the best learning. We kind of covered high school. We covered a little bit on some interesting kind of class structure and learning, and just general stuff. But we ran out of time, so we said we'd come back to it, and we're coming back to it.
Yeah. So
the first part, I guess, section today is going to be generally, just in general. We'll tie off our thoughts about high school, and then we'll move quickly on to college.
Do we have more thoughts about high school?
Just kind of a general. I think
Education,
we should start it. Well, it's for maybe people who hadn't heard the first one, or who have forgotten the first one. Just kind of a sum up.
Well, we were talking about the use of technology in the classroom,
mm-hmm.
like giving kids their own laptops or iPads or whatever, and letting them do like self-paced learning.
Yes. Well, in our conclusions, I was for it.
You're a big fan.
Yeah, a pretty big fan, and but we were not.
I was for it too, wasn't I?
Yeah, yes. Though you had.
Although I had a few reservations.
You had your reservations.
Well, maybe not a few reservations, but I'm very supportive of the teacher relationship, and I talked about the power of teachers to inspire students with their passion about a subject matter.
Yeah, so we were generally of the consensus that there are benefits to actually being in the same place physically. At least certainly for high school, and the idea of 20 kids or 20 or 25 or 30 kids in a classroom with one teacher for a year might work, but people should experiment with more flexible teaching.
All right, so as we talk about technology and education post high school, this even gets us into the whole idea even at the high school level. So and we've mentioned before, I think, on the other topic, that I have a background in instructional design. So I start getting I really care about this stuff, and I start getting very, very excited about how people learn. So there are definitely, when you're learning something, there are definite advantages at times to learning it with other people, no matter what your age. But in general, and there are, wait a minute, so I want to say that in terms of learning things, it can really help to do things together in a group. It can help to do things together co-located physically in the same group. I think a lot of what happens in education, in elementary, in middle school, in high school, in college, has to do not with learning content, not with learning subject matter, but has to do with the social relationships.
Sure.
But not about learning content, just about learning how to get along with other people and having relationships. So it's, in many ways, when I look at a school, whether it's a high school or a college, the whole idea seems antiquated. I mean, we've been collecting, first of all, this is not the way people normally learned or always learned throughout the ages. But we've been doing this method where you get together in a classroom and you sit and there's a teacher in the front who talks. I mean, that's been going on. And everyone in the room is about the same age. This has been going on for a long time. And it just seems, sometimes I look around, because, I teach college now, right?
Yeah.
And I stand up there, blah, 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 blah. Actually, I don't. I've been redesigning my classes I teach so that I do very little lecturing. But I think that's still the norm. The teacher's standing up there, blah, 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 blah. The students are sitting there, maybe listening, maybe paying attention, maybe taking notes, probably playing games. And, I think to myself, really? Like, this is, this is how you still get an undergraduate or a graduate education? Like, really? Like, I have, and I don't think it was with you, but I think I was in conversation with someone else. I have reimagined this totally.
Yeah. So what are your, I guess we'll start with elementary, middle school, and high school.
Yeah.
Which is really primary education. That's really, I mean, I know we don't call it that, but that's, we have this idea that every human in the United States should have a basic level of knowledge and skills.
Right. Reading, writing.
Arithmetic.
Well, not only that, but, history.
Sure.
Government.
Certain set of civic, yes. American history, civic engagement. There's
and even in other countries,
life skills,
their own history. I mean,
a musical
we're
talent,
not the
arts.
only country that does this.
An appreciation of,
Although these days a lot of schools
literature.
are doing away with the music and the arts.
Well, that's complicated. We talked about standardized testing as well in the first episode. And it again, just as a primer, Bush passed a thing called No Child Left Behind, which
is now gone, right?
Oh, yeah, it set up accountability standards for states, and there'd be lots of standardized testing on a federal level. But recently, a new change was implemented, which essentially kills No Child Left Behind. The standardized testing remains, but what happens once you receive those scores is completely up to the states. So no longer are there mandates about any of that, and teachers, so if the states say, actually, we don't care, we're gonna give bonuses to whatever teacher does the worst on their standardized tests instead of the best.
I don't think anybody's doing that.
I'm just saying, right? So they can do that, right? So that the teeth of it is essentially gone, and there's been. People do not. There was a swing for standardized testing, and now it kind of feels like it's swinging back, as teachers feel like now they're just robots having to pump their kids full of this stuff for the test day, but they're not. The kids aren't really learning, and no one has any fun, and it's just not.
Okay, but you were about to ask me a question.
So, I was just trying to kind of tie together our high school talk with, all right, so. What's the goal of K-12? Well,
let's just ask me a small question. Why don't you? What is the goal of K-12?
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna
I think
ask you a follow-up.
That's actually a really good question, and that's a problematic question.
Right, and I would say the answer is to assimilate to some sort of classic American culture, to learn how to read, learn how to write
Some people say it's to prepare you for a job. Some people say it's to provide a foundation of content.
Okay,
some people say it's to provide you with the skills to think critically, so that because in these days you can look up any content you want. Right. So it's not about content; it's about the ability to think. And it
certainly depends on the school, right? There, it has to teach you how to learn, teach you how to behave in theory, right? You have to.
Learn how to get along with others, learn how to follow the rules.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess I would, so I don't know that, I think these days in the U.S., in my opinion, there's way too much emphasis on preparing people for a job. And it's almost, because look, of course I want people to be able to get a job, but it's almost like, to me, we expect students at the age of 18 or 19 to know what they want to do in terms of work and career for the rest of their lives. And I think that's unrealistic.
Well, okay.
And I also think that schools become, it's just like what the companies need them to have. Certain companies need them to have certain skills. Therefore, we're going to push those skills.
So you have a totally different opinion than what I believe.
Which is what?
I don't think schools prepare you for jobs at all. Now, I should say that you live in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is based on the German model of education. The German model does put an emphasis on deciding what you're going to do young. But I think if schools were actually focused on getting people jobs, you'd have welding in the morning. There'd be electrical studies.
I didn't say they were good at
programming.
I wouldn't say they were good at training people to get jobs. I just think that that's a push, that there are people who say that that's what the schools should be doing. And the schools will tell you. But you're right, at least in Wisconsin. I mean, I know in our local school, they will tell you that...
No, they say that. But like 80%,
they don't do it.
You're they still teach everyone Shakespeare. There's no job in America that requires you to really know Shakespeare. That's a cultural bonding.
I'm sure there must be some job that requires you to know Shakespeare, isn't there?
No, there's not. There's jobs that require you to understand Western civilization and culture, perhaps in the marketing world. So I guess maybe that, right? But so if you're talking about the skills you need for a job, okay, you need to learn accounting. You need to learn how to minor economics, negotiating tactics. There are common, obviously reading and writing. No, right. By accounting I mean like basic addition, ways to.
Do you think that we should be? Do you think the K-12 education should be about setting people up so that when they graduate from high school they are prepared to enter the workforce?
No, I think.
Do you think as Bernie Sanders, I think it is, says that a college or at least some post-secondary, like maybe a technical college or a 2-year college.
Well, we're getting to colleges.
No, but do you think that that's the assumption is that of course it's necessary that people get more schooling after high school in order to be able to go out there and get a
that
job?
Schools should be more flexible. So I think right now schools try to do a little bit of everything, and in doing so they kind of fail at everything.
They don't do anything well.
So for example, growing up, our school did have like a shop class, right, where you could learn tools of the trade, welding, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're not really going to learn that much, and maybe it kind of works, but it's, only a couple kids really do it.
Yeah.
You could take programming, but it wasn't like you'd really learn programming.
Yeah.
You'd kind of get like kind of the basics. So I think what would, in my opinion, what would be best is that you have a general track, and you have a basic track, and the basic track, because I think cultural assimilation is an important part of the American school system.
Okay.
So I think there is a certain level of like it or not, that's kind of what it does, right? It
Of history and literature.
mixes everyone together, yeah, and you give them a basic foundation. I think learning how to read is important. Mathematics is important. And then once you learn kind of those basic things, and maybe you do that all before high school, then once you hit high school, you can specialize. So so you have the technical track, which is welding, electrician work, plumbing work, and like skills that actually would be desirable once you finish high school. So because we, for example, in the United States, we have a severe shortage of welders. That's just how it is.
But you're going back to, well, first of all, we need to get back to talking about technology in this, but you're going back to this idea that by the time someone is in their, first, second year of high school, they should be specializing in.
I'm just saying that should be a track, but you could also have a general track.
But isn't that just the same as when I was growing up? When I was in high school, just a few years ago, that was a joke. There was the college-bound track, and then there was the vocational track.
I think that still should be the case.
And so but then what you're saying is that because right now we have this idea, I think, which is that a lot of people should be going to college, whether it's technical college, 2-year college, or 4-year. And you're saying, no, there's a whole bunch of people because there's a lot of people that don't go to college. And actually, in our economy right now, what is it, 70-80% of the jobs do not actually require a college degree.
Yeah, I think only 30%, 30 to 40% of Americans have post-secondary graduation.
And a lot of jobs, contrary to what people may believe, there are a lot of jobs now. I'm not saying they're great jobs or wonderful jobs or high-paying jobs, but a lot of jobs don't require a college degree.
So
are you saying that?
And I should say no, but again, I should say there are quality, well-paying jobs. So, for example,
right.
When I graduated college, which was right in the middle of the recession, I should say, I got a job at a logistics company right out of college. I was an econ major, right? So I'm not even like an English major. And I got a job. It paid, about $36,000 a year, which, is not a lot, but it's not terrible for your first job out of college. Especially for my age group and in
the recession,
in the middle of the Great Recession. That equates to about $16 an hour, roughly. But if instead of being an econ major, I had become a welder, welders can easily make $25 an hour. So I potentially, in the short run, I could have made more money not going to college. Now, in the long run, okay, I then went to law school. And so, right now, I'm still making less than if I hadn't gone. But over the years, my earning potential is much higher. So, right, whereas, there's only so much money you can make as a welder. So you can get good quality pay without going to college, but if you want to hit the home run.
But you're going back to tying the purpose of education to getting a job. And that's something that I question. I continue to question. I think if you're going to be a welder, a plumber, a lawyer, a doctor, a programmer, I think there's a set of skills you need to learn. I mean, I think an apprenticeship model after school, which some countries do, is possibly a much better way to go. And so that everyone gets a basic education in basic skills and in their culture and their history, as well as world culture and world history. And then there's a point at which, and it might not be, maybe it's earlier than when we normally graduate people from high school, or maybe it's later. There's a point at which then you choose to learn a real skill. Maybe that happens in school, but you stop the general education, and then you learn the skills to be a programmer or a plumber or whatever. But I don't think the role of high school is to prepare people for a job.
No, well, okay, but I think it's to prepare people. I don't think that the role of high school is to prepare someone for a job, but I think the role of high school is to prepare someone for life. And I think they do a very poor job of doing that.
I agree with that. So, and you could, so does it matter then that you could use technology to do this?
Yeah, we're getting there. Don't worry.
All right.
I'm good. So, okay, so let me ask, the question that I wanted to ask you is, how is college different from high school? Are the goals different? What is...
Oh, these are big philosophical questions you're making me think about.
You can just say yes or no.
What was the question?
Is college, or how is college different from high school?
College is definitely different from... The goal of college, I think, is very different from high school. Well, and I think this is changing. This is the part that's changing.
There's lots of things.
And this is where technology is changing it. On the one hand, you could say the goal of college is to learn more and to get even more, right? You major in business, you major in economics, you major in psychology or whatever. So now you really are starting to you still have to take general courses, but you're starting to concentrate on a body of knowledge. So some people think that that's the role of college. I think, and if that is what you're trying to do, if you want to become a nurse, or you want to become a therapist, or you want to become, a Russian translator, that's the kind of stuff that I think you could learn most of that, self-paced and on your own. I think the main role of college is it's a rite of passage. It's a place to get away from home, find out who you are. It's this in-between period between being a kid at home and being an adult in the world. And, I think those two things then become confused. And I think as we move forward and we have people, there's a lot of young people now who, not a lot, but there's some young people now who are saying, forget it, I don't need college, I can, I want to be a programmer, I can learn these programming skills on my own, online. Now I think we're getting the separation between people who just want to learn the skills and are going to get their degree online, versus people who are out for the, after college growing up experience.
Right.
And if you're really wealthy, apparently, which, I don't know about this firsthand because I'm not that wealthy, there are people who now, before you go to college, you have a gap year. Do you know about this?
Well, that's very common in Europe.
It is?
Yeah,
really without being extremely wealthy, they do that.
This is the classic Europe.
Because the only time I've heard about it in the U.S. is people who are really wealthy.
Before you go to,
you take a year and you travel, you volunteer, Europe. Or sometimes you volunteer in another country.
Yeah,
and
very 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 common across the pond.
I think over here you only do that if you're wealthy, because who's going to fund that? Right?
Well, it's a lot easier when you're living in the Netherlands and college is basically free.
Yeah. Oh.
So, okay. So here's my.
You want to know my vision?
Yeah, but just actually before, let me. I'm gonna talk about what I think should be happening now.
Okay.
And then you can talk about your vision.
All right, go ahead.
Because I think I maybe have come across perhaps differently. But I think maybe it feels like I'm totally changing everything, or that's what I want. And I don't think that's entirely true. I think they just need to change some of the tweaking, rather than completely changing it. And I should say that I went to the University of Wisconsin, and everyone at Wisconsin, they graduate with a degree in like it's like liberal arts.
No, don't they have? Can't you get a
college? It's the College of Letters and Sciences.
No, but other people can get. You can get a degree in engineering. You can get a degree in business, and that's the College of Engineering, the College of Business.
But those are the definitely. But philosophy.
Yeah, psychology,
economics,
social sciences,
psychology, art. These are all in this. It's all you could all get the same degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, biology, chemistry.
Yeah.
The only ones that are different are again, it's like engineering, it's like pharmacy, dance. There's a couple side projects.
Arts.
Yeah, that they have their own.
But that's very common.
Okay. So then you have your major, right?
Inside, yeah.
Yeah, but so at least at Wisconsin, and Wisconsin does this a lot more than other schools. I think if I'm not mistaken, you need. Oh my god, I thought it was 86 credits to graduate, but I could be mixing it up with Loyola.
Anyway, you need a bunch of credits.
But let's assume that it's about you need about 90 credits to graduate.
Okay.
60 are general study requirements. 60
are not in your major.
60 are not in your major.
Most of the courses are not in your major.
Yeah, so 2/3 of everything you take, you have to take a little history. And the only thing you get to choose is you choose between getting a Bachelor of Arts, in which you take more literature classes and more writing. Or Bachelor of Science, where you take more math classes and
more social science classes too.
Yeah. And so then every class has a designation, and then you just have to fill all your check marks to get your general degree, and then but then you have to do and then you get 30 electives.
Right.
And those electives you put towards your major.
Right.
And then so I got a major in economics and international studies.
And this is very common at schools in the US.
Yes, I'm not saying it's uncommon. I'm just saying I think the proportion is higher at Madison. So basically your major is only a third of
a small part
of college, and 2/3 of all the classes you take is everything else. And I should really say I'm very pro that. I took some very engaging classes I never would have taken. I feel like I'm a better, more rounded person because of it. And I think that's the goal when they have a liberal arts college like that, is to create smart, well-rounded people who are talented in many different ways and are socially inept.
Inept?
No,
you
not
said
inept.
You said inept. Did they do a good job at making you socially inept, or were you socially inept?
I wasn't an English major, so.
Were you socially inept when you arrived?
Maybe. So, okay, so here's my vision.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I'll do it really fast.
Okay.
So, K through 8 is your basics. Okay?
Okay.
Reading, lots of math, some American history stuff.
Some world history.
Lots of focus on teams and learning and getting along and learning about diversity. I like to sprinkle in gym and art because I think those are important life skills.
Music.
Music. Right. Yeah. Just a basically
movement.
Yeah. A way to express yourself and as a person.
Okay.
Which I think is important, and there are many ways to do that.
Yeah.
And then once you get to high school, I think that it should be cut into thirds.
Okay.
1/3 is the general study traditional classes that we have that bring up more mature topics. Okay, so for example, like maybe like a history class, but a history class that deals with some of the tougher issues in history. Colonization, World War II, maybe a deeper dive into slavery and racism, civil rights movement. Okay, so something where now you're a little more mature, you really kind of understand these issues a little bit more, and high schoolers can flex their wings. You could take maybe a more advanced math class, like calculus, for example. Okay, and then I'm not even opposed to an advanced English class
what about
for everyone.
Science?
Sure.
I think you need lots of science. I'm big on science.
I think you need a lot of science too, but I think you'd have to maybe, just in the way you might do like a general American history, you might do a general advanced sciences class.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you think everything is general? There's not a specialization?
That's 1/3.
Oh, 1/3 is general.
Yeah,
okay.
and so all the kids do that 1/3, okay?
All right.
The next third is life skills.
Yeah, which is there's a paucity.
It doesn't
life
exist.
Skills.
It doesn't, and they don't teach it in high school, at least in most high schools. So life skills, okay?
Yeah.
Sex ed,
Yeah.
which is not reproductive education,
No.
but is about, consent and how adults have sex and why sex in society, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The next would be entrepreneurship, how to think and be an entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
I think that's an incredibly important skill that people just don't know.
Yeah.
And how to use your passion and motivation and turn it into, manifest it in real life.
Okay.
Along with entrepreneurial, it could be in the same class or maybe a slightly different class, is like intro to the American job market. How does employment in the United States work? How do resumes work?
Interviews.
How to negotiate. The fact that you can negotiate your salary with an employer is something no one knows. I think it's just not told.
Okay.
Or not. How do you expect? Like Another thing. What do you tip people? What are the social norms and customs in the United States?
What about cooking?
You could do so. You could have another one. I wouldn't just say cooking, but you could call it home life skills. I'm fine with that.
Cleaning.
Yeah. Just some general cooking techniques. Yes, that's the big one, right?
Investing.
How to budget. What to do if you have
Retirement.
extra money. What are some of the retirement. How loans work. That's something people just have
borrowing money.
no idea, right? Like a car
Interest
loan.
rates.
Like you will need, how do you apply
Money
for a credit
down.
card? Okay, they're just basic life skills. Okay, so
Okay. What about
what happens when your toilet breaks?
What about I mean, there's sports and there's gym. What about
Voting? How do you vote? How do you
what
register to vote?
about meditating? Mindfulness meditation.
Well, if you're going to some sort of hippie California class,
I'm
I
just
joke.
talking about dealing with
I joke.
stress.
No,
and
but
being
yes,
healthy.
absolutely. So mental health would certainly be a part of that. How to stay. I mean, I don't know specifically about meditation, but for sure, how to deal with depression, how to talk about problems you have,
stress,
how to deal with bullying, or how to deal with adversaries in your life. I think that would be very.
School.
And then also coupled with that's mental health, but also physical health.
Yeah.
How to stretch, how to stay active and healthy, how to
not
avoid
just
injury.
play a particular sport.
Yeah, how to so for example, how to maybe weight. You don't have to go through it all, but just general tips, right? So when you're weightlifting, right, make sure you keep. Make sure if it's hurting in a certain way, right? Don't do that. This is what it's like when you
physical skills, not because you're on a sports team, but for you to be able to do
it's a life skill to stay active and healthy. Okay, so that's 1/3, and I think that third is horribly missing from the school education system, and I think most of those you could do by being very nonpartisan. Because some of the stuff
is going to be very controversial.
The sex ed stuff is partisan, and so you could fight that.
Going to be very
but I don't see who was oh, we can't teach kids entrepreneurship in high school.
It's going to be very controversial.
Okay, so that's the 1/3 that I think is missing and would
what's
really
the last
help.
1/3?
That stuff, that's information that would stick with kids. And then the last third is specialization. So if you really like math and science and programming, you take Calc B and you take
or I do the arts.
You're gonna take advanced advanced music theory. You're gonna take programming in JavaScript, and
All right. If one subscribed to your third.
Yes.
I have some questions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and one last thing.
What?
The goal at the end
Yeah.
of high school then.
Yeah.
Is for everyone to have a basic minimum level of education and cultural kind of blending, right?
Yeah.
You've kind of learned how to be generally a person in society.
Yeah.
Have allow the kids who have a passion in a certain field to explore that passion and get ahead as they move forward to their next steps, probably college. And to for the last third, to give people, the kids who graduate, general life skills so that they can be more successful in their general lives. Things that will actually help them save money and make money.
All right, so question for you.
And be healthy.
Would you do this then in a classroom setting, or can we do self-paced learning, or where does technology fit with this?
I don't know. I think there are huge opportunities for self-paced learning, that kind of stuff, but I don't know how to. I'm not the person to ask to how to best get the best results from kids. I bet you that if you were a brilliant teacher and you were given the task of teaching a bunch of high schoolers entrepreneurship, there are some really great places you could take that don't involve a textbook. Right, like that can be hands-on, engaging, and working with other people, and stuff that happens in business every single day. And I think those are really valuable skills. But I'm not good enough to really know.
I worry that sometimes that because we have people who are teachers, right, and that's what they do. And that means I'm talking about either at the high school or any level, primary school through high school through college. I worry that the stuff that the kids are learning in schools is not the stuff they need when they get out. That they're learning. Let me give you an example. I'm teaching a class right now called Special Topics in Interface Design to students at University of Wisconsin.
Collegiate level.
College level. These are juniors and seniors. And in that class, we're doing things like, talking about the design of augmented reality and wearable devices and e-learning and just all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And these are kids who are getting a degree basically in human-computer interaction, undergraduate degree, which is unusual to get an undergraduate degree in that. But most of their education, and I'm not putting down University of Wisconsin, the program that I teach in at all, but most of their education in this field is not in things like virtual reality, augmented reality.
Right.
They're mainly learning stuff that's being taught to them by professors who themselves have not been in the classroom or out in the world doing programming or technical stuff for a long time.
Right.
And this is true in all departments, right? You've got these teachers who don't have time to go learn about the new stuff, the new programming language or the new science or the new anything.
The way teams program with GitHub and...
Well, I mean, they might know we do teach Agile and things like that, but yeah, there's like the
boots on the ground kind of stuff.
It's just that especially if you're talking about technology and science and probably and even other fields like art, it's changing so fast. I just worry that whole model, they're not able to get the latest. They're not getting what they should be getting. So that's my concern, is that this model where you've got professional teachers who then don't, just get older, and there's this bigger and bigger wide, and because the pace of change is so fast now, right? 30 years, if your knowledge was from 30 years ago, if you went to college or you were out working in the world 30 years ago, you don't have the new knowledge. So I just was very concerned about this.
Perfect for teaching reading and for teaching calculus And
It
in
is.
theory, you're a teacher.
And the basics
you
of
have
chemistry.
you continue to learn, and I mean, I'm sure the good teachers, they're up on the latest.
They're trying to be, but I don't think they're. I mean, you're so busy. How could you possibly be up on it? So I think we have a real problem.
When it comes to some of the functional stuff.
And in some ways, technology can't help. Because if you spend, I mean, if you're gonna have a self-paced course in programming. Well, let's talk about this because, for instance, you're doing a tutorial.
Yeah, I'm doing a
self-paced
simple
tutorial
JavaScript tutorial on my phone that I do while I'm on an airplane because it's offline and it's really fun. I like to learn JavaScript.
So who created that? And is that modern? Is that relevant? Is that up to date?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, okay, so let's get it.
Are you learning old JavaScript?
Okay, so there is no such thing. There are certain, so first of all, I'm doing the Learn JavaScript, which is the JavaScript tutorial by, one second, Solo Learn.
Solo Learn.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different languages. Yeah, but here's the thing. I'm still in the basics section, and I did take Java in college. I've coded many things in PHP. I have a functional knowledge of Java. I am by no means an expert, and that's why I'm trying to learn more, especially modern programming tips. And the dirty secret about programming is that, especially with JavaScript, there's no right or wrong way to code. There are maybe sloppier and more efficient ways, but when you look at like JavaScript, so right now JavaScript is exploding as a language, and you're getting all these different variations. So you have Node.js for coding on the back end. You have it's called oh my god, I can't even remember. I want to call it Agile, but it's not Agile because that's like a structural thing. This is a language thing. It starts with an A. I can't remember it. Then you have function, like function only. I'm reading some stuff on just programming with functional design as opposed to like object oriented. And then there's like stuff like Elm, ELM, which is a version of programming in JavaScript that doesn't require the same amount of actual like semicolons and stuff. It's much more free form.
Okay, so all right, now
it's complicated,
and this is probably why we're going to have to go to three episodes, because now we could go off on a tangent.
Which I think people who know JavaScript,
which is a very
I'm trying to learn it better.
Important tangent, because it seems to me that if you're going to learn something like a programming skill, you want to learn how to program or do anything you want to be a graphic designer, anything that's you want to be an interaction designer. You need some basic skills and knowledge. Yeah, like but then
if statements.
But you could learn a lot variables. Of that self-paced and on your own.
Absolutely.
And maybe with a mentor for when you get stuck.
You don't need a 30-year tenured professor to teach you what like a while loop does.
And what you need is some interesting hands-on projects eventually, and real projects. So then you need to start working with a team, because that's what you do in real life. And so it'd be great if you could get put on projects with other people at your level, plus people at more experienced levels. Right. And then, of course, because you also then need to learn what's called the soft skills. And maybe college is a good place to learn the soft skills. How to make a presentation, and, how project management, right? So it just seems like there are much better ways to learn how to be a programmer than necessarily going to college.
I will say, though, the one thing that teachers can provide is they can provide nuance and depth that you wouldn't otherwise get. So, for example, when I was in high school, I learned C++. that was the programming language that I started with.
Yeah.
And have you ever coded with C++? I mean, you used to code.
I have coded with actually what would be some of the precursors to C++.
Yeah. Is that
so? I don't. Let's not. I don't.
Basic.
I don't want to even age myself.
Anyways.
Let's just not even go
So
there.
right, and so, that's great. You have to be if you're making a modern, website app, you're not touching C++. You're dealing with much higher level languages that are so forgiving, right? So like, JavaScript, right? You set up your kind of, or even Java, right? You set up your app. You just, or JavaScript or PHP, you just declare a variable, and it's whatever you want.
Okay.
But having to start with that, give you an understanding of where it comes from.
I understand.
And
All right.
Look how far we've come.
I understand that. I understand
this
that.
is what's happening on a deeper level.
This is why it might be useful to do long division by hand.
Correct.
To understand what division really is.
Yeah.
This is why when I was learning statistics, we learned how to do an analysis of variance, ANOVA. There was a little program, we could run that throw the numbers in and it'll gives you the data. But we learned to do it by hand, and because we did that, I have a deep innate understanding of what variance is. Right. And what it means and why it's important and all of that, which I would not have gotten.
My statistics class in college, calculators were not allowed except for simple ones to do like square roots.
Well, good, because that's
so we did the same.
That's
thing.
what you want to do.
No slide rules though.
Oh, slide rules is so much fun, but so that's useful. However. And I agree with you on that. However, are we not headed to a place, you know where I'm going with this, are we not headed to a place where humans are not going to be programming?
Right. We're going to continue to move higher up. You'll have deep learning
I remember,
software.
I knew people who did machine language programming back in the day, and now nobody does that, right? So aren't we going to get to the point where the robots are there's robot algorithms, they are doing the programming, and we're doing some basic design stuff. We might even get to the point where we're not even doing basic design, but let's just say that we are designing and then somebody else is writing the code, and so we don't need humans writing code. Should we be preparing all these generations of people to keep writing code? And are we preparing people for what happens after that? And how close is that anyway?
Close. So basically every generation of code, of programming language, takes some of the dirt and grit and
automates it in some way, not necessarily robots.
So if you think of Steve Wozniak, when he was writing the original operating system for the original Macs, he wrote the entire thing in binary.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Can you imagine writing a website and writing it entirely in binary? I mean, that's just...
Gives you a little different idea of the definition of geek, doesn't it?
Unreal. Okay, so to move there and then just to move to ASCII characters is a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay? And then instead of having to you have certain modules that will automate the input and output of things. So when I started C++, just outputting to a screen, just writing text to a screen, it was no simple thing. And so then you move up another level, right? So you have Java, and you can just simply
I was learning this stuff when there was not a standard operating system.
Yeah.
Right? Just the idea of an operating system
that you can write code on.
Huge thing.
Right.
Because we used to not have that. So
okay.
yeah.
So hold on.
Yeah.
And so then the next level is you have modern languages in which you don't need to declare class variables, right? It's just a variable. Like PHP, it can be a string or it can be a number. It doesn't care. It'll handle that all for you.
Right.
Okay. So then you have something like Elm. All right. So I'm showing you what Elm looks like.
And our listeners at home cannot see this.
Right. So this is like a hello world.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing, here's how you have to declare. Here's what you have to write.
Yeah.
To have a in Elm to have a hello world.
What?
Greeting equals, and in quotes, hello world. Period.
Okay. That's it.
That's the syntax. That's the
syntax.
Syntax, right?
Yeah.
There's no semicolons. There's
Yeah.
no nothing. Greeting, it understands it's a do variable. It automatically generates that variable. Hello world, it understands it's a string because it's in quotes, and it creates that string for you. It is ridiculously simple and in a much more English-speaking language. So this is kind of going to be the next thing. So that's part one. Part two is that you have the deep learning places, right?
Right.
That can automatically generate code. And it will start with automatically finding errors and finding ways to make code run more efficiently, right? So it sees that you have a bunch of like else if statements.
Yeah.
Right? It looks at that. It can kind of guess that here's what you're trying to output, and it will rearrange the whole thing more efficiently for you.
Yeah.
That's going to be the first step. And then the next step is telling the code, hey, I want to make a function that every time I press a button, it'll automatically add 2 points to the score, right? And the artificial language will generate that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining. Okay, here's what I'm imagining.
But someone has to write that, so there is a.
Here's what I'm imagining but that's a small number of people that have to write that.
Right.
If then there's other,
who's doing ANOVAs by hand?
I'm imagining just asking for something with voice, not on a screen. Or saying, hey, here's a bunch of numbers, and based on here's a bunch of I'm imagining telling the computer, here's the sales data for all the shoe lines. That's what I just gave you. And then the robot computer, whatever, says back to me, what do you want to know? Right. I mean, right? So I don't have to have anyone create reports.
Right. Yeah,
I don't have, right?
Yeah. Hey, can you tell me if there was any kind of correlation between last year's brown shoes numbers and the weather outside?
Yeah, or is there any difference? Any obvious differences? What's different from last year to this year? And the computer will figure out, and say, well, you might want to look at, there's been an increase in this, there's been a decrease in this. That's all done. I mean, am I crazy? Or is that, how far out are we? And that is happening without needing, this whole army of people to program, okay, now we want a report that shows this, and now we want to create a screen, just the screen idea, okay? If we're talking to computers instead of the screen, so all this creating of forms. Input your name.
That's right. Everyone working in an office. Your jobs are leaving. They're going away forever.
If I were talking to, and I guess I am talking to young people who are getting degrees in technology, I would tell them to, work on some of the machine learning, or work on some of go do VR and AR. Augmented reality and virtual reality, because I honestly think this whole world we have, where we spend a lot of time figuring out how to design screens and how to design a website. I think that, because, I think you may not agree, but I think screens, I just think that's not where
I think you're right, but we still got 15 years of gravy. So get it while it's good. My general thought is that I think you are right that some of the stuff will go away. I think there's still a place for, like you said, learning to do some of it by hand, the old-fashioned way, just so you have some understanding of how coding works.
All right,
but then but it's all about the proportions and the teacher.
All right, so we went off on a tangent, which we're gonna have to do another episode just on the future of programming, perhaps. But I want to come back to education. Here what?
I'm not a good enough programmer. I just don't know enough.
But we could invite someone on.
Ooh. Like the future of JavaScript,
just the future of programming.
That's super hot. Like, what's going to be the winning programming language?
Or is there gonna or what I want? Hey guys, if you know anyone who would be good to bring on to talk about this idea that maybe in the future the humans aren't doing the programming, I would like to bring that person on. Let me know who that is. If you're that person, contact us. All right, to bring it to we got to wrap this up, and I want to bring this back to education. You want to know my vision?
Yeah. Give me your K-12 and then.
I loved your third. I am on board.
Nice.
The biggest problem I see with it, we can't get people to agree whether to have art or to teach evolution. I mean, we're so not to the point where we could get anyone to agree to third. I don't think. Because we have this whole local school control. I just can't imagine that we would get agreement on that. But I like it. If we're talking
the nice
vision,
thing is you can teach evolution and art.
I would like the third. I would like to use computers and technology to do as much self-paced learning as possible. I think students should be able to move through the curriculum at their own rate. I think they need inspiring, passionate teachers to guide them. I think when you graduate from that, high school level, as we would call it, I think that this idea that everyone should go to college, or if you don't go to college, then somehow you're weird, or if you don't go to college, then you're going to end up in being stuck in retail, working at a restaurant, or you're going to, you have to be in the trades. I think we got to get rid of that. And I think we already are. But I think students need, when you graduate from high school, some people need a group social connection. So my vision is you have these places where young people go to live that's not super expensive, that's kind of communal, like a colleges, like a dorm, and then they go to these communal spaces to learn, like their self-paced work, like cooperative, how there's cooperative workspaces where you can go and do your work and with other people. Kind of like you've told me about, library, the library at UW, right? That was the study place.
Helen C. White, shout out.
So that you would have these places that students could go to either work collaboratively on a project or just to go, I'm working on my JavaScript, but I don't want to do it alone in the living room at my parents' house. So I've moved into a dormitory area. I go to the collaborative space to do my learning so that there is a place for people.
Do you know what you've just described?
No.
Guilds.
Guilds?
Yeah.
Well, but I don't...
A little bit. I mean,
but this is even before people have chosen what they want to do. I think it's college without the classes. I think you need college with individualized learning. Online colleges would be fun. I think, I've worked with some online colleges. I think you need kind of like an online college, but a physical place.
It's like a retirement home for 21-year-olds.
It's just college without the classes.
Yeah.
You have a mentor, you have an advisor, there's groups of things, people working together on projects, or you're working on your own.
Pay for what you
it doesn't
learn.
Probably doesn't go 4 years. You can do much less, probably 2. So now you've left home, gone to a place, learned something.
Great.
Do you think we should do it?
Yeah.
Can we get it started?
We need a couple million.
Okay, if there's anyone out there that has a couple, I just think it would be a great idea. I just think it's what, to me, it'd be great. There's so much great stuff you can learn without, and you want to pay for, Berkeley School of Music has unbelievable courses. I want to take them all. You can't pay a lot of money and get the credential. It's not like you wouldn't be credentialed. You could get a credential. Or if you don't want to pay a lot of money and you just want to do like the JavaScript tutorial that you're doing, but you still have a place to go live and be with other people.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my vision. You know what? We're out of time. You and I somehow could talk about education forever. I don't know
that's
why
why we got part 3. We might turn into 4 parts.
Oh God! All right.
Well, because we got to the function of high school, but we didn't really necessarily tackle how we change college and post.
I just did. I gave you my vision.
No. But you didn't to change that's a new addition. But not the classical college system.
Okay, we can do that too.
That's probably going to be part 3.
All right, so you know what I'm really happy about?
What?
I just made it through the whole
Without
podcast,
coughing,
and I didn't cough. So as soon as we're done, I'm probably going to have a coughing fit. All right, should we? Oh, we didn't do any of our stuff at the beginning. Do you want me to do it now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so if you like our podcast, please rate it on iTunes or Stitcher or Overcast or wherever it is that you listen to it. Please tell other people about it. If you have any questions for us or any suggestions for topics or for guests to come on our podcast, you can reach us at
info@theteamw.com.
info@theteamw.com.
We'll be in New York next month.
We're in LA right now. We'll be in New York in November. And thanks, guys, for listening.
Yeah. Talk to you soon.